This entire team has been lifted tonight by Odell Beckham. This is sick. Put this to music.
It's a pretty good offseason there, Zach.
I can't believe I was looking at the page yesterday. I just see like your team lined up left column for all 8 or 9 trades for whatever it is. I was just like,
Yeah.
holy.
It was funny too because Drew obviously was like getting all cheesed about like all the trades and stuff. And he goes, like, he texted me 3 or 4 days ago and he's like, I can't wait for Zach to crumble too. He's like, it's coming. Can tell. So that was so ridiculous.
I'm not a numbies guy though.
No, it's fair enough.
Well, folks, welcome back to the Rad League podcast. Just a few short days after our last episode. Kind of an emergency episode. Not an emergency, just things happening. You know, it's June 15th and there are things happening in the Rad League. And obviously welcomed here today by the Inferno and the Vacuum Cleaners. I just want to start us off with a little song, a little ode to the Vacuum Cleaners right now.
It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life.
It's a new life for the Vacuum Cleaners, ladies and gentlemen. The RV life. Welcome, Zach.
Feels good.
Newly acquired running back Travis Etienne to join Breece Hall. And you've got 2 big boys. How's it feel?
Feels incredible. It's definitely the best I've ever been at set up at RB. I mean, Breece on a zone was the best I've ever been set up at RB. So adding Etienne to the room feels good. Feels good to have 2 guys, playing the whole year together, except for the week I play Orange. So that feels good.
What are they both have the same bye week?
Yeah, that's against Great stuff, eh?
It's always good to have
new.
Though.
Yeah. Dr. Evil.
Get them all done.
Yeah, it's not like I knew. It was luck, but I'm going to pretend like I knew. It'd be great. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Jacob, GM of the Inferno, welcome in. You just were part of your 8th trade.
Yeah.
Off season. How are you doing? How are things?
Doing well. I think I came into the year, I had 3 trades I wanted to do, and I got them done pretty much exactly the way I wanted.
Let's hear these 3 trades.
So it was originally I wanted Hurts, but I wanted to get paid to take him. So the idea was, like, this was what I was thinking. The second I lost to you in the Rad Bowl, I had like a sheet of paper, and
that's how these things start.
Yeah.
And
I was like, fuck this.
And you pull out that notes pad on your phone. You start writing the must-haves for next year.
It's exactly right. And so I got done. I was obviously
you had Josh Allen. What'd you write? Get a QB? Like
no. Like I just wrote I wanted to get a Q. I wanted to be like, obviously you want an elite quarterback. I think the last few years, even look at Drew's piece of shit team from last, like, a couple years ago. Josh Allen, he finishes first, right? So
yeah,
that a QB, like an elite quarterback, helps. And so what I wrote down was, I don't like, if I can move off my first and get paid a pick like a round later or 2 rounds later and get a quarterback, like an Allen again, but obviously I can't because I owned him. So Hurts was the next best thing. Then I really want to do that. So then when that one worked out, and then I managed to also get a 6 to 8 upgrade, the second trade was Cook. I really want to Cook. I was talking to Dame forever about Cook. He wouldn't move him until I got Jay and Etienne situation involved, and then he was more open to moving off Cook for a way better price than I thought I could get him originally. But I think just because of Etienne, like, that happened to work out for like solid value. And then after that, it was the Puka trade. Like, I always thought I could get. I didn't know who to pick between AJ Brown and Puka. And I was like, okay, well, if I can't decide and it's this close, I want to be paid an extra pick to make the decision. And I figure, because I knew Drew would either go probably Harrison or Henry. Like that was what I thought at 101. So I'm like, okay, worst case he takes Harrison. I don't get Harrison, then I want to be paid to take Brown for my other keeper. So that was kind of like where my head was at with those three moves, and then obviously it escalates.
So did you ever have, you say the first one was the Jalen Hurts. Did you
Yeah.
ever just think about keeping Josh Allen?
No,
Or was that no?
no. I think like just because if you look like relative to ADP, like Puka and Brown were way ahead of Allen, and I think too just in the league, like you can if you just acquire like an early second, if you really want to go quarterback, you can take whoever you want really because like no quarterback's going in the first unless you really want Josh Allen. I know there was talk on the last podcast of a first round Josh Allen situation, so I don't know what the rumor mill is saying, but
I mean, we already have a QB off the board, and it seems pretty clear that it's Allen and Hurts.
yeah,
Are the
yeah,
top of the position, and one of them's already gone. I mean, I know we start a lot of players in this league, but that's kind of brings us in here to what I want to talk about first, kind of the identity of the Rad League here. This has been a crazy off season, and most of it stems, I think, from our unique league with, the amount of players we start. 3 wide receivers, 3 flex.
agreed.
B, we're a standard league. So you think with the more players you have to start, you need a ton of wide receivers. Sometimes that's really good to have, sometimes it's not. So obviously standard scoring leans to more of the running backs, and then the standard impacts the tight ends. What do you think is, for both of you, the identity of the Rad League here between our flex, our scoring system, our Twitter, our off-season trades, the way we do keepers? What do you think is kind of the core right now that makes this league what it is? The logos, I don't know.
Zach, you go first.
I think it's all the stuff around the football. Probably that's the identity of the league in terms of like, it's a season that happens over 6 months in the fall, but the group chat fires 12 months out of the year, all day, every day, talking football. We thought a couple months off of fantasy football was too long, so we decided to cut it short. Obviously, there's been more trades this offseason than ever, but during the season, there's trades all the time. Every week, we're probably seeing a trade. So it's, when you start so many guys, what I've, come to realize is I think we're a studs league. So you need your studs, and then you kind of fill the rest out with those random waiver wire guys. You fill out the late round picks that end up being good. The Jaden Reeds, the Kyron Williams, the, Christian Kirk I drafted in the 6th round or whatever, that a couple of years ago. These guys who they might not be the most attractive names, but they're going to get points for you every single week. And those are just there to complement your studs.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like each guy in our league has their own like unique personality, and much more like than that, like their own strategy. So it's kind of like, yeah, you don't ever know what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, if we're talking like strictly the definition of the league, I mean, I want to say it's running back forward, but I fucking tried that strategy, Zach, with Henry, Kamara, and CMC, and I got shafted. So been there, done that. It didn't work out. Good luck. Missed the playoffs, actually. So
I had Henry, Taylor, Etienne miss playoffs.
There you go. Yeah, the 3-headed monster doesn't work. Look at the Jabba stars. Failure. But yeah, like so I want to say it's the RBs, but in reality, like I think you just need like a well-rounded team. And at the end of the day, you can only control so much. Like, I thought, like, obviously there's no guarantees, but I thought I assembled the greatest roster ever last year, and there's nothing you can do apart from hope, right? Like then you're going to get Elijah Moore. So in reality, it's like you can only put on paper the best team you can assemble, and it's a mix, and then eventually it's actively managing your team. Picking up guys, as you said, Zach, and kind of going through that. So yeah, and that's what I've been doing this offseason. It's like shifting strategy to, instead of, trades in the middle, I'm trying to get a little bit of an advantage going into the draft instead, and just see what that happens or what happens with that.
I think what I love is every year someone's trying to figure out, what to do in this league, right? Like every year each team will sit down after the offseason and be like, okay, this was what I had last year, and like what does my team need to have? Like what was it missing to be good? And it changes every year. Because you
Yeah.
look at the winning team, you see what they had, or you look at the team that, came first in regular season, see what they had. And it's always different. We start so many guys that sometimes it's all the running backs. Sometimes it's like being deep everywhere. Sometimes it's, you had Kelsey at tight end and like a good quarterback. Like it's literally different every time. So I just love that every offseason, I think there's so much shakeup at the start of the year now with keepers and such, because people think that they have figured out the recipe to win. They think they figured out the ticket that's needed for the upcoming year.
So
And
true.
if you're chasing last year's ticket, it's probably gone by now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you gotta have the new one by now.
Yeah.
It's
So true.
it's funny because it's like that exact theory is present in this trade. Like I'm giving away my picks to acquire guys and proven guys who I don't think are available at my pick. And then Jacob's facilitating in order to rack up picks in the first round. So, his strategy is the numbies early, and my strategy is I don't want numbies, I want names, basically, going into the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, that you could say it was kind of similar to me. Obviously, we have traded away 2 picks each for a third keeper, basically, who's running back. So we have 3 teams that I'm just going to call them the 3 keeper teams. Obviously, they have lost. They don't just have 3 keepers. They've traded away draft picks. They've paid for them, right? 2 of them, me and you, Zach, have 2 running backs in our 3 keepers and a wide receiver. And then the third team, Eat My Grit, they've got 2 wide receivers and a running back. So one difference, obviously, you gave up first and a second. I gave up a second and a fourth, obviously, for a player that is in a lower tier, but still have the first round pick. Eat My Grit, they've got the 2 wide receivers, 1 running back, no first round pick. And, they don't pick until second last pick of the second round, the 209. So do you think there's a fundamental difference there as a 3 keeper team between 2 running backs or 2 receivers? Is it riskier to go one way?
I don't think the way, with the receivers that EMG has, it's riskier because he's got 2 guys projected to be in the top 10 in terms of points with Puka and Amon-Ra. Top 12, whatever you want to call it, 2 elite end receivers. If he was, if he took a similar strategy to you and didn't give up the first round pick, gave up, a later round pick to acquire a receiver in the tier down, I don't think I'd be as big of a fan of that move. But, as someone who has struggled at the running back position, it was important for me to acquire that position, and I trust myself more in finding receivers in those middle rounds of the draft than I do running backs, and I just think there's more of them available. There's just there's so many committees in the league, and I feel like I acquired a guy who can be a bell cow, whose only competition in his backfield is Tank Bigsby, who I have very little confidence in. And, on a team that I'm hoping is better this year with a healthy quarterback. But obviously I moved my first 2 picks. I was able to get a 6th and an 8th back, which I don't hate. I think there's still some value there. There's, those bottom flex guys, top of the bench guys, who, if you get lucky, they're going to be able to contribute at some point for your team. And I was able to secure a guy who I grade very highly in my, in my off-season rankings and in my, my player choice that I made is he's a guy I really like and who I feel like fit nicely with my team structure. Brees, being the guy that he is, can handle a guy who's a bit more volatile behind. So if Etienne decides to have one of those 3-4 point weeks, I can survive it. And it's something I realized about a month or so ago where it was going to be important for me to acquire a guy and acquire a running back. So I was hitting you up for A-Chain.
Yeah.
I was hitting my grid up for Kyron, and I was hitting Dame up for Etienne. So those are the three guys that I kind of felt like were the guys I liked, but also the most realistic trade targets. Yeah, to acquire.
Like you're not going to get Bijan, Gibbs, Taylor. Like
I don't know. I tried for all of them. But
let's just run down the trade quickly for everyone listening. Then I'll let you go, Jay. So, Zach, obviously you acquired Travis Etienne and a 6th and an 8th round pick, giving up the turn, which is your 1st and 2nd round pick, last in the 1st, 1st in the 2nd, along with a 7th, it looks like. So I guess the 7 kind of moves back to 8 for you, but you get a 6 in return. And then Dame, who traded away Travis Etienne, got the 108, the 201, and the 710. And then Jacob, that is kind of where you came in. Instead of just Zach paying Dame the turn, you gave him your 108. And then for that, you moved down to the 110 and then traded away your 6th for a 3rd as payment for that. You must have been ecstatic being brought in. I'm assuming this was in the 11th hour, being brought into this trade.
Yeah, kind of. Like Zach texted me. I was drunk at a bar downtown, and Zach texted me like a day ago, and he said, "I'm trying to get like a running back or like a keeper." I think he said. He's like, "I don't know if I can do it myself." And even like weeks ago, he had texted me being like, "What's the cost for the 108?" And he was just like, "I'll give you," like he said something after I got it from Jason, being like, "Oh, I'll give you like a 9th for a 10th, being what you paid or whatever the fuck." And then essentially from there, like a day after, he was saying like, "Okay, I don't think I can get it done." I'm like, "Okay, well, like what is it?"
The A-Chan was off the table.
Right. And I was like, "What is it?" And I said, and he said, "I want to get Travis Etienne." So I messaged him and I'm like, I told Zach, I said, "Man, like, I think like if he moves after acquiring Etienne, like he has to get paid more than he paid. Otherwise it makes no sense. And the league will be like, what are you doing, man?" So
We're
I
already
said,
there.
like, yeah. I said, all right. And then when Dame turned down the turn, I was like, I think I can get paid a lot here. Like if I somehow move down from 108 to 110. And so I said to Zach, and Zach will say like there was 2 ways it could have gone, which is I give the 607 or the 504. And that's a huge difference, like 13 picks in the middle rounds. Like the teardrop is, especially for those like second rate of RBs. I know, like, fuck off, Drew, with the I hate the teardrop thing, but it exists. So when that happened, I was pretty like staunch at I want to be at 607, and Dame was like, "Well, I'm not going to give up the 3rd unless I get a 3rd piece." And so that's where like Zach's little 7 to 8 round extra thing came in.
5
because
picks.
yeah, I
5
know,
picks,
I know. But to Dame it mattered.
804 to 710.
Yeah, but to Dame it mattered. And if Zach wouldn't have done that, Dame wouldn't have given me the 3rd. He would have wanted to give me the 4th, and I didn't want the 4th. So I was like pretty stuck on the 3rd. So because
I really didn't want to bring Inferno in. Etienne was my first target. He was the first person I went after, and Dame just really wasn't a fan of the turn. And that's just another like I've had the
110 there.
I've had the 110 like 3 out of the 5 years I've been in the league. I had the 108 the other time. Like it's just been brutal luck. So I think a lot of people saw a teardrop at some point in the first round, and and the 110 was not an easy sell. And I had asked Dame if he was interested in the 108 instead of the 110. He had said no to me. And the more I talked to him, the more I thought, okay, maybe there might be, a little bit of interest, but he wasn't giving me much. So then I knew I had to make a deal with the devil and bring Inferno in to broker the deal, and he was able to, I guess, lay out a plan that made sense for the three of us. And Dame really sees a tier break around that 108,
I guess.
Yeah, so it was important for him to have those, those two extra picks.
I think for Dame too, like he definitely like understood that, or like he viewed like a tier break. But then more than that, it's just like the ability to not lay out a plan, so to speak, but just like understand where everybody is in the league and the picks and who the players are and like what their kind of motive is. And if you can just say like, hey, this is going to be better than you were, or try and like make them understand like that. And if they say no, you just kind of got to like own it. But Dame like really wanted to trade. Like I guess he was off Etienne or was off, that decision. And thought
Well,
he'd
he
get
was
a
saying
similar
Jacobs
guy.
on the last pod. He was saying that he was going to keep Jacobs. So, and when he first traded, it was marketed as Etienne. So maybe he was like, fucking now I don't know. Like,
Yep.
um,
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think maybe like go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna say, I think, each person brought their own opinion into it. So Dame felt like 108, he was able to get someone in a similar tier. I feel like Etienne is above that. I feel like I was not going to get a player of that caliber at the 110 to a 1 turn, and I feel like the two dart throws I throw there probably weren't going to equal. I have a terrible history of drafting in the first two rounds. I tend to draft a lot of recently hurt players who suck now. So I just want to take that decisions out of my hand, and Dame always knows, so he'll find two studs there.
Yeah.
mhm.
And I think Dame
Um,
too, like just draft wise, super quick. Like he now can just take a running back of like not a similar tier, but he'll take a running back at the 108, and then he's got two guys where he can, lay at wide receiver or go running back again. Like I think he's in a better spot now than he was.
he's got two seconds, but he doesn't have a third.
That's right.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, he could have instead of his current spot, he could have, kept James Cook, still have, this first rounder, this second rounder, and then also had the third rounder instead of the first pick in, the second round. But I mean, we'll see. He does know sometimes.
Yeah, I think he maybe understood that he lacked a little bit after the trade. Like he might have overpaid, and then when he was going through it, realized this is a better option because it's the same as he was before, but he moved up in the third to the second.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's not a terrible deal.
Him and Jason are two of the three teams with one keeper, Rocco being the third, but Rocco is Bijan Robertson. Damien and Jason, they each have one keeper, presumed both to be keeping a tight end, Travis
Yeah,
Kelce and Sam Laporta. We've never seen it. We've seen Kelce be kept in the Rad League when he has been a stud. We've seen him go in the first round, or kept, as I just said, but paired with another running back. Keeping a tight end and that's it. Like, what do you think about this? Like, are you just fucked if that's all you got going to the draft, or is the draft deep enough that you can get some running backs, some wide receivers, maybe these guys that in the offseason we're not looking as the dynasty top tier, but can you come back from a one tight end start?
Zach,
We're
give me
looking
30
at a
seconds on
three-keeper
this.
team or a team with a QB and a wide receiver.
I
what's
think
your
I
thoughts?
think the lack of understanding and or the emphasis put on keepers in this league is crazy. That's where I'm at with it. Like if you have Sam Laporta or Travis Kelce as your keepers, right? But you now have a first and 2 seconds. By the end of the second round, you're gonna have four guys, they're gonna have four guys, and it might be a done mad. Like that's the thing is like, yeah, your keepers are typically a level above the rest of the pack. And so that's where you have like your a little bit more of elite guys. But if Dame has now the 201, the 204, and the 108, he's going to take three studs there to pair with Kelsey, and he's going to be on a level playing field by the end of the second round. And Jay, fuck, man, he's got 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Like by the end of the second, he's level playing and he's got 2 picks above everybody else.
Mhm.
So he's in great shape, in my opinion. But again, it's all how you draft, and the draft typically doesn't matter. Zach?
Not my vibe. I mean, Jacob makes some great points, but I think I like you said, most of the time keepers are just that tier above the guys available in the draft. They're available in the draft for a reason, especially once you're out of the top few picks in the first round. Then you're banking on guys either doing something that they've never done before, like Drake London, for example, who's projected to go late first, early second. This is a guy who has never produced in that elite tier. You know, Olave, we're expecting to take another step, I guess, but he's in the same situation as last year. It's like my preference is keeper is a name because I'm usually with a guy who I'm way more conscious of their situation. It's way more sure. They've done it before, that type of stuff. But if you're able to come out of the draft with guys who perform well, it's just a bigger risk. I feel like it's a big gamble to prioritize draft picks and keep a position that titles have been won with the tight end 10 or the tight end 8.
Yeah, you got to nail the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's think who have been the recent tight ends on the championship winning teams. I had Kittle last year, who was like tight end. He was like top 3 tight end, whether you're looking at end of year points per game, he was right up there. Year before that, Zach, you won. Who did you have at tight end?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's the asterisk.
I don't remember, like Pat Fryermuth or something.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Okay. And the year
Something
before,
like
I had Dalton Schultz, who he's fine at the time, but he's not great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Mike had Kelsey and Kittle, I think, the year he won before I
Yeah.
joined. But yeah, I mean, that's
a different recipe every year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So what do you guys got for us today? You two are both teams making move this offseason. Zach, you run the show doc. Jacob, you more or less run Twitter. You're involved in it all the time. You run the trades. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask, I mean, I guess we kind of covered it really. I wanted to say typically around the 110 or in the first round of sometimes or even like closer to the second, there are some just like cataclysmic Rad League busts where guys have no ability to they'll be like, this guy's going to be unbelievable. And he's just a miss, like Dame Pierce, AJ Dillon, whatever. Who do you think is going to be that guy this year, and why is Tink going to pick him?
Oh, Tink is the 101.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to say the 101 is going to be a pick or a miss, but you're wanting me to say which Rad League GM, or
I mean, yeah,
I don't know
we're
if
like,
I'm at liberty to say which NFL player.
that's fair. That's fair. It was a leading question for sure. Yeah.
Who's going to be the team to make this pick, though?
Yeah.
Oh, in the first round, I mean, obviously there's a better hit rate picking from there. you might want to go figure it out because they're down at the bottom and then they're early in the second, and sometimes the turn can mess with you. But last year they had such a good draft. I'm gonna say I might go bench warmers with one of their picks. Not the first one, but the second or third, especially because they don't have a third round pick. There's going to be some type of reach there that's like, hey, get your guy. And if you know, you know. But, if you got 3 picks in a 7-pick span there, one of them's going to bust. One of them's
Yeah,
going to for sure.
fair.
Yeah. Exactly.
I same logic. I was gonna go Jason. Not for any particular reason other than he's got so many picks, and these guys starting at these, they're needing the 2 most important positions. So like, I don't know if they're gonna come in wanting to project everyone to have the best year of their career, but
we need
that's
2 positions.
typically what I do.
3 + 3 is 6. We start 8 guys between these 2 positions. Most of the time, unless you're rocking double tight end, unless you're leaving with Goddard and Hawkinson, just like King fall in the draft last year.
Bold strategy, Drew. I think for me, I'll say myself, I have way too many fucking picks. I'm going to miss. I can't hit them all, so I'm going to miss on the couple probably.
I would have said me, to be honest, if I was still sitting there at the turn. I mean, my history is brutal. I've got I picked top 5 one time, and it was Leonard Fournette the year that Rachaad White took over. So I'm brutal there. Might have to hire outside counsel if I ever win the lottery or don't lose it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I'll only charge you a third, Zach.
I'm good.
How about you? What's your question?
My question was, this has been the craziest offseason in terms of offseason trades. How do we feel about the current rules? How do we feel about limiting it next year? Do we enjoy it? I'll let you guys start. I'll go after.
I need 30 seconds on this because I want to make a declaration to the league. I'm looking at every single one of you. I've traded with 8 out of 10 guys. Okay. I go into this. I got dragged into half of the trades I was a part of. I don't know why it's always me. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. But I think that the league, even Jab, for example, making his 1 yearly trade. I think it's more like guys enjoy it. Obviously, when one team is attached to every single trade, it's a little ridiculous. And I mean, even I wish that there were trades outside of me. Like, for example, your trade, Zach. But, sometimes when my plan this year was to have a lot of ammo and to use it to better my team. And so by virtue of having that ammo, as Jab said in the chat, it escalates, right? Because then you have to drag a team that has ammo into all these trades. And that was kind of part of the plan. But I think to say that it's too much or that, I do think we shouldn't be trading in March per se, unless there's a small window. I think that's a little outrageous and probably needs to be looked at. But outside of that, I mean, this is the league. It's fun. Don't make a trade if you don't want to,
I would agree to most of that. I think obviously there's going to be reactions when people make a trade. There's going to be overreactions, and we think that, a trade's happening June 13th or earlier, and half the chat goes, this guy won the trade. We don't know what players are involved. We don't know what these teams are going on. So I think, obviously with the large reaction, but people are agreeing to a trade. I don't care if it's in June or if it's in September. They're going to choose to change their team. They're trying to make it better. No one's trying to make it worse. So I don't really think you need to police it. I'd agree. Maybe June 1 is just a good start for trades. Nothing in March or May, even right after the draft lottery, it's let that sit for a bit, because the one thing that does suck, draft lottery happens and you're there's a new player coming out of college that you want to take 101. It fits your team perfect. And it's like, you want to do whatever you can trade for that pick. And it's like, what if 3 days after the lottery, some other guy just traded for it? And you're just like, well, fuck, like I didn't have any time. Like, so I think it's good that, there cannot be a trade announced or officially agreed to, from the lottery to June 1. So even if two
Right.
teams are like, hey, we technically have agreed to this trade, another team can still come in and better that, or nothing's official till June 1, and both parties need to agree by that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think I've always liked the full year aspect. I have never played Dynasty, but I find that part attractive. Like managing a roster over the full year and having keepers, we sort of have that a little bit. So I like the ability to think about football and do that stuff. But June 1st is a perfect date. I agree. Right after the draft, there's a lot of emotions. Like if you're keeping James Robinson and Travis Etienne gets drafted in the first round or something like that, not to be specific, but, you know, I think I could, take or leave the March trades. I don't see myself ever trading before the lottery just because I don't usually have my like rankings or anything like that prior to the lottery. So, but I do like having June 1st onwards to better my team because, it, it's fun and I like
Yeah, you
trading.
want to have the
and I like
option.
negotiating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like I would like to say super quick is like my strategy is not going to be to make 8 trades every year. This was a thing I picked to do this year because of the way last year ended, and I was pissed. So it's not as if like this year before it was Allen and Diggs and I got guys. This year I went the numbies route. It's going to change every year. So it's not like this is going to be a thing every summer. So even that, it's just having that June window and just having the option is super important.
The only two teams that haven't made a deal yet, Drew and Mike, are they going to stay pat all the way to the draft, or could you see one
Come here, boys.
Could you see one of them making a trade before the draft, or are they both just going to be stubborn? Not stubborn, but they're going to stick to what they know and not move. I mean, Drew, you'd think he's going to crack and just do something.
He won't.
You think he's going to go
the opposite. I think
he's sitting there going, ALL's got 3 players plus a first round pick, and after the first round, Drew's only going to have those 3 players anyways. He doesn't pick to the end of the second, so I wonder if he tries to move up or something.
I think I don't see Drew making a move. He's so staunch. He's so pissed off at me making all these moves.
By the way, we have under a minute left. So if it goes down, should I open up a new one or? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Drew not making a move. He's going to stay staunch. He's so obsessed with this. Oh, I have a regular draft order. I'm fucking, even though I traded Barkley or Diggs and fucking Allen, I'm going to stay in my order. And he won't make a move. I said to him, I'm like, I want to complete the all 10 teams. I'll give you an 8th for free.
We'll go right into it. Yeah. This is the Rad League podcast. We are an independent podcast. We're an independent league. We don't pay for Zoom Premium. We get our 35 minutes, or it seems to be different every time. Sometimes it feels longer than others, how long they give you to record a meeting. But when they give you that warning and that time's up, there's nothing we can do about it but wait to start the new meeting. So, if you want to help grow the channel, help grow the league, just give us a watch, follow the league on Twitter. We're maybe one day we'll have Zoom Premium, or maybe one day we'll be, I don't know what else people do for their podcasts, but it's probably not Zoom. So it's probably not. But anyways, we were talking about FIO and the Tinker Soldiers, the 2 teams to not trade. Jacob, you were saying that Drew,
they're not trading, man.
Trade because he has normal drafts.
Yeah, they're not trading. I think Mike doesn't care enough till June rolls around. I don't think he knows who's available in the first. And part of me respects it. Part of me is like, you can't even contact the man. He's zoned out till the summer, till training camp, and it's probably smart, But he's no chance unless he gets an offer he can't refuse because he's not a moron. And then Drew's, this whole narrative of I got my normal draft and fuck all these trades is maybe it'll be good, but it probably won't. So that's the way I view that.
Even if he gets an offer, he can't refuse. If you like your guys, you like your guys, and I don't I don't see him moving Chase or anything like that. But
Yeah, there was, I don't know if there was talk of at one point it was a joke offer. But when I was, obviously Jab's been making jokes about me trying to get Tyreek, and when I was talking to him about this, he said, "Well, I want I would want an elite receiver back." And so I messaged Mike, and Mike was like, "Yeah, give me both your firsts and 2 seconds and a third." I'm like, "All right, man. Well, that's never going to happen."
Yeah.
So he's like, "I'm not trading them." I'm like, "All right." So I do get it.
I don't see him trading though, especially like the more Jake trades, the less Drew will trade. So, he when I called him yesterday, he almost seemed I think he's reached the point where he's numb to it. And he just had to check in to make sure it wasn't Brees or Jefferson being traded, but and I think he was fine
Yeah.
after that.
Sounds about right.
I don't know if we'll see any more first round pick movement. I mean,
It's been a lot.
There's no reason for me to say that because they're just happening all the time. And but Tink seems locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacob, I guess you could do something like with Jab, like if Jab wants to move up to 2 or something like that. I could see that happening. Or
I mean, don't get me wrong, gentlemen. Marv is on the block. I'm making that announcement. If I get an offer good enough, he's gonzo. But I mean, I want him, but anything's possible.
maybe G-Sop then. He's got the back-to-back 4th and 5th. Maybe he wants Marv that bad, but I mean, he can get good players there. And I don't know. I think the first round is done. But we'll see.
That leads me into the question that I was going to say just while we're on the topic is, do you think there's going to be another trade and who makes it? That's my question.
Yes. I think there will be a Numbies trade, a draft pick trade involving 2nd to 4th round picks. I think it's going to be with one of these teams like the Jackrabbits, or just a team with like a couple picks in one of these rounds, like maybe you, Jacob. I think just moving up to a higher pick, and there could be someone who doesn't have too many picks, just moving down, but not really in the first round, just more so in these mid ones.
Gotcha. I can see it. Yeah, it depends. Like, I don't know. I think like I've definitely, without naming names, I know some guys want to move up, but like who doesn't, right? That's like the name of the game. And then as for me, like I was telling Zach yesterday, I'm completely undecided on where I go next from here. I have to at some point sit tight for a while and just like fucking, mock and figure out what's going on because, it's been too many moves all at once. But yeah, I mean, after that, and once I figure out a direction, we're only in June. There's probably another move to be made at some point. But yeah, I would guess there's a couple teams looking to move up. I don't think we'll see any names traded anymore. I think that's done now.
That's exactly, I think, where I was at. I think I'm guessing there's probably going to be more than one draft pick trade prior to the draft, just the way things have gone. But I mean, so many guys have moved already that I don't see, I know Dame traded for and then traded away Etienne, but I don't really see that happening, something like that happening again. And then the guys who haven't moved, it's because they're like the best guys in the league. So I don't really see any names moving, but I do see exactly like you guys were saying, like a second being upgraded or like a third being upgraded or something like that. And then someone's going to grab 2 picks in the middle or something like that. I think as we get closer to the draft, like you might be able to group guys a bit better and figure out, this guy should probably go in this range. And,
will we have an in-draft trade?
I tried that last year or the year before. I was yelling at everyone trying to be like, give me this, I'll give you this. And You got like 90 seconds or whatever it is. So that
Yeah.
it's,
How long,
it's
Yeah,
tough.
you'd have to
Smith?
have something. You'd have to have something pre like set up so that
Yeah.
in the event some guys are there, something, like
Which I've done that too. I had a pre-draft trade with Andy once. And I think, that could happen again where going into the draft, guys are like, if this guy's here, then I'll make the trade. And if he's not, I won't,
for
which
sure.
is probably a smart way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do think that, like, I mean, I don't know. I probably won't make any like draft trades. I feel like when you're on the day, you have your plan like zoned in. But who knows? We're so far away. It's crazy.
It kind of brings me into what my question was, which was, do you think the change in the draft location is going to affect the draft? Because now we're expecting to have a whole night with each other prior to the draft, which we never really had. It was kind of like show up and draft like an hour later.
That's a
Couple hours, yeah.
disaster.
You get to watch a Dean Blandino cameo, and then you're thrown right into it.
People kind of like are weary of who they talk to before the draft, even like
Yeah,
your space. Yeah. I'm gonna
you
chat
see
with
two
this group
guys
over
separate,
here.
you're like,
Yeah, there's me and Jay sharing a joint outside prior to the draft. We're always getting something going on, and then there's the inside crew, and yeah, there's some people you don't want to chat with prior to the draft.
Yeah, it could be a very interesting that like night before. I think a lot of information will get spilled eventually. I think, at the beginning, guys will be like, I'm not sharing shit. And then 5 beers in, they're like, this is my fucking guy, So we'll see. But I do think that night leading up leads to what could be chaos. So it'll be fun.
I could see this just being a nightmare on draft day because you gave away all the guys you like, and I think we're gonna know everybody's favorite Texans receiver by the draft.
Yeah. And if it's not Nico, what are you doing? I mean, I put that out there, but I hear you. It's crazy, 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 crazy. Gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good draft. The night before, I could low key see a trade going down, right there for some draft picks. I mean, definitely.
You got a question, Spence?
Yeah, this is the question that I've been asking most of the people coming on. Just give me your Rad League Finals prediction. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to take yourself to take up one of those spots, but who do you see as a likely opponent this year?
It's a good question. I think finals, I mean, it's really, really tough to predict because you're doing it based on like draft capital and keepers and that kind of thing. But I think, yeah, like kind of what the last two said on the podcast. I think Mike's due to like make a run. I don't know if he makes the finals or whatever, but I think, I feel like he has got the drive now to like re-cement himself after missing the playoffs and stuff. You got to bet on yourself. I think it's a given. I mean, I want to be back there. I don't know about the finals. I feel like I've done enough to where I think I feel comfortable making the playoffs. But yeah, I'll take myself and Mike. I'll go there. I know Drew's missing the playoffs, but I'm not breaking news to anybody.
Obviously I'll take myself, and then the other one, I think, everyone makes good points. Jake has a bunch of draft picks, Jacob. But I'm looking at Jake. Jake has Tyreek Hill, Jahmyr Gibbs, and the 103.
Yeah.
And the 205.
And the 205. And that's scary. That could be very, very scary. I mean, I think we know how 101 plays out. I don't believe a word out of Jacob right here's mouth. So we'll see who he takes at 102 or who he eventually trades 102 to takes.
Yeah.
I have no idea where Jab's going 103.
Here's the thing, right?
My question is, I got to ask one question.
Yeah.
Has he forgiven AJ Brown? And I think that's going to be a really big.
That's something you're going to have to dig deep. Night before the draft, he's going to have a couple Miller Lights, a couple whiskeys. He's going to be he's gonna be thinking, I don't know.
Here's what I think. I think Jab really, 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 I'm looking at you, Jab. I know you're watching. I think he really wants me to take Marvin Harrison because I think in his mind, especially now that Etienne's gone, I think Etienne was the only other one that maybe could have swayed him. Probably not, but that's just my suspicion. I think he really wants AJ Brown. And I think that's kind of where his head's at, is he doesn't want to have to make the Marv or other decision, because I think most people realize taking Marv that high, he's not going to be a top 5 guy, right? He could be. There's a world. Is it as
Luka
likely
and
as
Chase have done it
Brown?
in their rookie years, and this guy
Sure.
is
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I just think it's much more likely that that a guy like AJ Brown, who's already been there and been a top 5 receiver, is more likely to do it than for Marv to shatter the rookie record again. Especially given their schedule too, which is more difficult than most. Not that
You're
should
not
matter.
taking Marv. That's what you just said.
No, I'm absolutely in on Marv unless I trade the pick.
Don't forget about Zay Jones. He's there too.
Yeah.
Guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But that's just, I do think he wants AJ Brown. I think that's where Jab's head's at. And yeah, I have not made a decision yet. So granted, Marv's electric and I've been peppering the content, but no decision's been made.
Okay. This is going to be a crazy draft.
Sure is. Yeah, sure is. It's crazy.
I've got some loose rankings done up, just on the notes on my phone, just some players, and you look at it and you look at the positions, and there's a lot of good guys, and then I just think back to my own second round pick every year, and it's just bum after bum after bum. like, I don't know, it's because I find a guy and I rank him so high, or I just write some players I'm just like, I'd never take, like, second round.
Yeah.
It's too high, like, and then Mike Evans is going round 5 or whatever, and he's just
Crazy.
every year he's right there. Like,
You do love the reach pick, like the get your guy, like I'm fucking luck. He's a stud, man. Like that is the ALL motivation. It's funny, man.
I like to play.
Yeah. It works out for you. Okay, outside of the draft, maybe.
Sometimes
Sometimes
it does.
Yeah. But we'll see. The draft is at the end of the day a meaningless thing, because it's really, you can miss on almost all your picks and come back and be, just fine.
So why'd you trade all your keepers for draft picks then?
Advantage.
Okay.
I actively manage, as you guys know, in the season too, right? It's more so to get draft capital for the in season. Like I'm going to have 4 starters on my bench, and guys will be depth deprived, and that's a helpful thing.
Yeah, I'll text you after the draft.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, well, that's all the questions I have for today, unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on. You were this week's guest, part of the 3-team deal. The draft order of the first round, once again, has been shaken up. There's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the picks have changed hands. Half of the first round has changed hands. And
apologies.
It's the middle of June.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So insane. I think I've owned half the picks in the first round at this point. It's not
like, I don't want to just say that people are getting bored, but it's like everyone's doing something with a motive, with a clear, this is what I'm doing, other than Dame, who's kind of flip-flopping what he wants to do. Player picks. But
yeah, I think every trade, the person trading with Orange has had, they're doing it because they have a plan for draft day, or they have a plan for the season, like whether that's, being in what they see as a certain tier and around, or, getting their guy and forgetting about it. But it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. Without a doubt. I wish I had a piece of paper with my phone number on it to say contact for trades. Like it's not over, come call, but I don't have that on hand. Should have made it. It's a bit of an error, but
yeah. I've floated a thing to you a couple times, basically saying
We'll get something done.
What I'm after.
Yeah, we'll get something done at some point. I'm sure. There's definitely
Maybe we got to get a third team involved. We'll see.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm still in it. I still got some.
Maybe is that where are you at? You do have, things in those rounds that I have made known to the both of you that I'm looking to add. So maybe we should
get excited about Zach 607. Get really fucking excited about it. Great.
Hey, I've still got 4 picks in the top 51. It's not
right.
at the end of the
world.
world.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
All right, cheers.